You are the light of the world. Today, as we continue our journey through Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, we are told that we, Christians, are the light of the world. And if you've spent much time reading the Bible, you'd recognise that this idea of light is commonly spoken of. In the Bible, it represents purity, truth, enlightenment or knowledge. It represents God's divine revelation and God's very presence. And when you think of light as a lamp being lit in a room, then you can picture a room in the darkness of sin until the lamp of purity is lit, bringing light. We can picture a room in the darkness of deception and falsehood until the lamp of truth is lit. The lamp is lit, light has arrived, and darkness is eradicated. That's the idea of light we get in the Bible. Israel thought of themselves as the light to the nations in the Old Testament. And the Old Testament also predicts that the Messiah, who we know as Jesus, would be the true light of the world. And here in Matthew 5, the Messiah speaks and says, "You are the light of the world." You. Now, this doesn't mean that somehow we've taken Jesus' place as the Messiah. But what it does mean is that we continue the messianic mission of bringing purity and truth and enlightenment and God's presence to the world. What a great privilege. What a mighty task. What an amazing thing to be involved in. Bringing God's light to the world around us. And in verses 14 and 15, Jesus says this: "A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house." What he's saying here is if you are a Christian, you are light. Not you can be light, but you are light. And the question is, are you going to shine it or are you going to hide it? That's the question I want to pose today. Are you going to shine your light or are you going to hide it away? But how do we shine our light? Well, verse 15 shows us pretty clearly. In the same way, Jesus says, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." Our good deeds. That's how we shine our light. And they'll bring glory to God. And so this is a call to go and do good in the world. Let's think back to the dark room we spoke about at the beginning, about bringing light into a dark space. That's what we're called to do, to walk into darkness and switch the lights on. But before we apply that, let's just address what Jesus says later in chapter 6 in the Sermon on the Mount. He says this: "Be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others." Right, on one hand, he says, do your good deeds so that people may see them. Now he's saying in chapter 6, be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others. What do we make of this? Are we meant to share our good deeds or are we not? Well, I think the spirit of what Jesus is saying is that our good deeds should be so numerous that people can't help but notice them because we're just doing them all the time. But we should never do them for the purpose of being noticed. We do them only for the glory of God. So with that in mind, I want to ask you, what are the dark rooms that you can saturate with your light? What are some dark rooms that you can saturate with your light? You can think locally and you can think globally. Locally, when you see someone sitting lonely at school or work or church, you can bring light to the darkness by befriending them. Switch that light on and bring light. You can bring light by standing up for someone who's being mistreated. You can show light by practicing forgiveness. In this darkness of unforgiveness, in this darkness of revenge, you can flip that light switch and bring light. You can shine your light by saying no to things that are negative and harmful, and by not being involved in sinful lifestyle choices. And you can shine your light by telling others the life-changing news of the gospel, bringing the presence of God into their lives. What about globally? Well, you can bring light by using your time and your money to support justice projects around the world, to support charities, to care for people who are less fortunate all around the world. You can bring your light through supporting missions and seeing the good news spread in the nations that are covered and shrouded in darkness. You can flick on that light switch and show them Jesus. We can also take measures in our own life to ensure and protect to ensure the protection of the fragile environment that God has called us to care for. Shine your light. Jesus said, "You are the light of the world." So, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven. Go in peace and shine God's light.